Welcome everyone to the Home Improvement Show. I am Todd Allen. This is Todd's World. This is one of our podcasts. I didn't do one last week and I apologize. The new podcast, Carrie and I do the Wildly Opinionated News Hour and we do Beers with Jesus, and both of those we've been doing so long we're kind of locked into when we release them and how we do them and what days we schedule on and everything else. You should tune into them if you haven't. Check out the Wildly Opinionated News Hour. It's wildly opinionated. We go through clips of the week. We've got the crazy, I think college chick something, going off about how global warming's so bad. We don't have time. Like, we have to start eating the babies. You got to check out if you're seeing this on Facebook, check out my clip of the Wildly Opinionated News Hour, and you'll get that 3-minute clip, and then you're going to want to go. I post the entire show right on Facebook. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple, it's everywhere. So that was the Wildly Opinionated News Hour this week. And then we have Beers with Jesus that we do. And as far as Beers with Jesus goes, we just right now we're walking through the book of Acts and we explore the story. That's all. So join us. Maybe you'll like it. It's not your typical kind of churchy, preachy thing. So not that there's anything wrong with that. Go to church. I like preaching. But not everybody does, so maybe this would be for you if it's a little less that way. So check those out at Todd's World. You can find it anywhere. Like I said, I post the full videos on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, Rumble, of course, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts, iHeart, Google Play. I'm missing one. Substack, and they're usually all video podcasts. Coming into this next week, we're actually taking this next week off. Carrie's out of town. I may do some best ofs or something. I'm not positive if I'll put anything out, but look for that. You'll notice the hat, Insurrection. That's my story actually. So also on Amazon. This is Insurrection Season 1. Great story. Great story. Let me read you the back. In the fall of 2024, Donald Trump is ascendant once more when a deep state attack forever alters the nation. A powerful secret paramilitary unit, Group Alamo, emerges from the shadows to take the fight to the American deep state elites. As their attacks on the deep state ramp up, the elites controlling the levers of power in America are shaken by bombings and assassinations targeting the American globalist empire. As the insurrectionists rise, the deep state fights back and the fabric of America is torn asunder. So this would be an alternate universe in which the deep state succeeds at what they tried to do, which was to take out Donald Trump. And they succeed, and then we see that there's a secret paramilitary group that takes over. So it's just a story. That's all it is. Hopefully a good one. Hopefully a great story. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. A lot of people have. The other one that's on Amazon. Also, Insurrection and Witness are both on Spotify and Substack and Apple. You can go back and find all of the audio episodes if you don't want to buy the books. Witness is another one. The End of All Things, Season 1. And this one's, I tell you what, it's a good one. I'll read it next time. The other thing that's out there, 9 Mile Point, great novel. Just released this. All my stuff is, the little different genres. This one would be more along the lines of kind of a supernatural mystery, suspense, thriller. Also, some romance. It's got a love story kind of at the center. And so, it's not your typical, like, chick romance. You know what I mean? But it's got a love story at the center. And a lot of action, a lot of ghosts. It's a good read. So, this one is not on audio anywhere. And also Leaves the Blue Ways, my memoir. All of that's on Amazon. Todd Allen, so look for that there. Check out Todd's World. Check the podcast out. Now this week, we do have a couple questions and comments I wanted to get to. One, our old buddy Mr. C actually had sent me another one. Probably he was hoping it was going to be answered last week, but last week was a fail by Todd's World on getting the Home Improvement Show out. So, this one says, the warmer temps and summer air have me dreaming of grilling season. However, I don't have a designated grilling area and hate the clutter of wheeling it around the that the wheeling it around the garage creates. It's annoying, understandably. Thinking of doing a self-pour slab by the porch. Okay. I have very little experience with concrete work. Should I pay the money for a small grill pad or just take a stab at it myself? I also want to tackle a concrete ramp into my shed for the mower, if it's feasible. Food for thought. Okay, Mr. C. By the way, Mr. C, I think that you know my daughter, and I think she lied to you. She told me that that you asked her whether or not I did hunting and fishing. It's true that I'm not a big hunter and fisherman now. I have done both in the past. Once both my parents passed away and they didn't have property, the hunting thing kind of fell by the wayside for me. I did it for probably 5 years. Killed a few deer. I loved it. Pheasants, all of it. Bird hunting, grouse, all of it. But dog died, property's gone, move on to other things. So I'm a bit of a dabbler. Did enjoy fishing for a few years, then decided I like boating and drinking better without the rods and the worms and everything. So anyway, by the way, beer I'm drinking today is Grand Rabbits. It's by Black Rocks, which is a brewery out of Marquette, Michigan in the UP. And this is a cream ale, and I gotta tell you, it's really good. I like cream ales. Boddington's is a cream ale too that's imported. It's probably the price has gone up like 50% now with Trump's tariffs. But anyway, this is domestic. There's no tariffs at all. So give Black Rocks, and I've had other Black Rocks brews. They're really good. They just do a nice job. I like this cream ale though. I don't get it all that often, but I like it. It is Oberon season though, and I haven't even gotten any Oberon yet, which is kind of strange. But anyway, oh, sorry, Mr. C. Forgot about your question. That was the whole point. Here's my thing about pouring your own concrete. I'm not going to say never, rarely have I seen a concrete pad poured by someone other than a professional that I couldn't tell was poured by someone other than a professional. Now that may or may not matter. My good buddy Will, who he did the companion podcast for us with the first couple seasons of Insurrection and the first season of Witness back when we were doing the audio fiction on Todd's World. And he poured his own approach, decent sized approach to a couple different garages. Him and his dad didn't have a lot of experience, but they did a decent job. It looked nice. Now, could I tell it wasn't done by a professional? Probably, but I don't know if that matters. I don't think it matters, and it's significantly cheaper. On the grill pad thing, if you're doing the ramp to the shed or whatever for the garage at the same time, then you might get enough between that and the grill pad to have a truck come out, which is going to make life far better than trying to sit there and mix it by yourself in one of those wheelie spin things, which I've done that too. It's hard to get a good finish out of that. Unless, it's hard to get the mix right and everything else. So if you've got enough to have a truck come out, it's a lot easier and you get a better mix. And then you just got to have the right tools, which you can rent. You can rent the floats. You can broom the finish. You can trowel the finish, whatever you feel like. So I would say go for it. And you're going to be your own customer, so hopefully it looks okay. But realize I don't pour a lot of concrete because I'm not confident in myself making it look good, to be honest with you. May or may not matter for a grill pad and for an approach to the garage. So, but I would at least look. I would at least check with a flat work guy and see what the difference is. Get a quote on those two. Look at doing it yourself. See what you're saving. See if it makes sense. I agree with you on having a grill pad. Or if you don't have a deck or something that you've got your grill on, even then they have those mats that are nice. Because I tend to, I said this in the last show, that I like wooden decks. And I'm not sure that what I'm about to say would matter either way, but I also really like charcoal grilling, and I like using the lump hardwood charcoal, and I find that frequently coals and embers end up on my deck, burning their way through if I don't grab them with tongs and throw them into the fire pit. So it is nice to have something like that. Under my charcoal grills is scarred from embers. So, probably my fault. But, what do you do? So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Your other options, now this wouldn't help you on getting your mower into your garage. You can do pavers, probably relatively easy for a grill pad. You get the sand and put that up and do whatever. And that would work. Nothing wrong with that. So it just depends on what you want. And it depends on your skill level. Concrete is, you can get it functional enough, and if you're happy with it, then that's good. Who cares if it doesn't look quite as good as a professional if it's your house and you're happy with it and it's performing the functions that you want and that you need. You can save a little money in doing it. I don't see anything wrong with that. The other question that I had this week was about, somebody's asking me about fixing ceilings, drywall ceilings, patching ceilings, where you get, the cracks all the way across. And they weren't sure, he wasn't sure that I could match, you could match the paint, you could make it look right, because it was a textured drywall ceiling. And I told him, I don't have any problems with, one thing I have found, most builders, when they're building homes, are using, your big paint companies are Sherwin-Williams and Benjamin Moore. Both of them have, Sherwin-Williams has a product called CHP, which is kind of a glorified primer. And I think Benjamin Moore has the same thing. It's like a VOC or something. Anyway, it's glorified primer. So when I'm spraying a house, if we go into a new home, we spray CHP. I'll do a heavy coat on the ceiling and then spray all the walls in the house. And by the time I'm done with all the walls, come back, ceiling's dry, and I usually do another good coat on the ceiling. And I call it good. That's a final ceiling coat for almost all builders is kind of a double coat of not all of them do double, some of them just do a heavy single. But either way, it's this kind of glorified primer, like Sherwin-Williams CHP. I have found that stuff 5 years, even 10 years out, that you can match it paint-wise, especially if you have the same can. But even then, it doesn't matter that much if you know what it was. Because I can buy a new gallon of that CHP from Sherwin-Williams in the white that every builder, every painter uses, and it's going to blend fine. It really is. You don't have to worry about that. Textures and drywall cracks are a different thing. I will say this. I'm going to give you a little, this is not a how-to show, I said that. But if you want to know on how to DIY to fix drywall cracks, like a professional, I guess, is take the first thing you do is kind of dig out the crack. You make it bigger, like a utility knife or whatever. Get the the paper edges V it out a little bit so you have a little bit bigger, a little wider crack or opening to deal with. Not super wide, but I mean if you got a crack and you want to get it to 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, whatever. 1/4 of an inch is a little wide, but regardless, 1/8, 1/4 doesn't matter that much. Then use it's like a mesh tape kind of thing. I think Fibra tape is one of the brands, and it's like a plastic mesh. Put it over that, put your first coat on, and that Fibra mesh tape, that Fibra tape, is going to bond that together. And by V'ing it out, you're going to get plenty of mud in there. And then I would usually do 2 more coats, sand it out, try to get it fairly flat looking, and then match the texture and match the paint. And you shouldn't have to repaint the entire ceiling, as long as you have a pretty good idea of what product was used on it. Generally, ceiling paints, a lot of times are those glorified primers, but even if you did a Sherwin-Williams or Benjamin Moore ceiling paint, they just hold up better and you can usually match them. Unlike wall paints are not always that way. Wall paints you'll run into more fading on. They can just be a little bit more of an issue. Not always. I've had paint that I've gone back to that was it wasn't my work. It was 7 years old. We were patching a wall for somebody and used the paint that we just matched up, and it looked beautiful when it was done. So it just depends on where it's at. If you're getting a ton of sun on it, sometimes you'll get some fading. But that's generally the best way to fix drywall. Now, I made that sound easy. A lot of people don't do very good drywall work. So you're welcome to try to do. A lot of people don't do very good concrete work either. That's my point. So you got to decide what you're going to live with. It can be difficult to match a texture on a ceiling, depending on what your experience level is. Whatever. A lot of guys just don't like drywall work. So it's and if you don't do it that often, it's real difficult. Well, it's like anything. if you don't do it very often, it's hard to be very good at it. And depends on a textured ceiling whether or not that makes a difference. If it's vaulted, farther away, it's harder to see. If you got an 8 or 9 foot flat ceiling, depends. You might be able to see it if you don't do a good enough job. Again, that may not matter to you. I don't know. So that's one thing. The other thing that I wanted to talk about this week is I wanted to talk about soffits, ridge vents, and roof ventilation. We just did for a customer that we did a lot of work for in the past, a repeat customer, great people, and we took a bunch of the gables. The gables didn't matter as much for what I'm saying, but it made a big difference on the look. But on the eave end of a home, they had the old kind of plywood soffits where they just have a few like metal vents screwed in, and then it's a plywood, just a flat plywood soffit. And when we tore it off, it had a gutter on it, and it was, the fascia board had rotted out, the plywood had rotted out on a lot of it. You just don't get much ventilation through those old style wood soffits, and then the little vents that they put in them. Makes a huge difference if you upgrade your home and go to a newer aluminum soffit and you get that full vented soffit. But then the other thing is, what that's doing, the way a roof works is you got your eaves and you use vented soffit on your eaves, and then you usually have a ridge vent anymore. Some of the old style homes had, they call them pod vents, and they were those black roof vents that were, you might have 4 or 5 of them across the top of like the back side of a house roof. And the idea is the same. Ridge vent is more uniform. Ridge vent goes all the way across the ridge, which is the peak of the home, goes all the way across the ridge. And the idea is that you're pulling air from the eaves of your house up through the ridge vent, and that is keeping the attic close to the outside temperature. It's keeping it cool. So in the summer, you want your attic, in the summer it helps cool your attic so that your attic doesn't heat up too much. If it heats up too much, it's going to affect the life of your shingles, and your shingles aren't going to hold up as well. There's a lot of problems. You can have a lot of problems when you can have moisture problems when your roof isn't vented well enough. So that is something that if you're looking for something to do to your house, if you have an older home, that's usually a good investment, because often they just didn't vent very well. And even to put a ridge vent on isn't the end of the world if you don't have one. You can kind of pop the ridge shingles off, and usually you can take a skill saw and kind of cut down at the sheeting just to get it opened up a little bit, put a ridge vent across it, and then you overlay your ridge vent with shingles. But you get a lot better ventilation. So that combination, and ventilation is so important for a roof. It's so important so that you don't get moisture up there, you don't get mold up there, that your shingles hold up. You want your attic cold in the winter. You know what I mean? Because if your attic's warm in the winter, then the problem that you get is you get ice dams that you see. Because in northern climates where we've got snow, the sheeting heats up, and that snow melts, runs down to where the eaves, where it's cold, and then freezes, and that's where you get those big ice dams, and then they can cause a lot of problems and a lot of damage. So it's poor roof venting and soffit venting is definitely something worth addressing on an older home. Most of your new homes built to code should be good and should be set up and should work well. If you're getting ice dams on a home, you got a problem with ventilation. That's all there is to it. So sometimes those problems are easily fixed, and depending on what was done and what's causing it, sometimes they're not quite as easy to fix. But if you have a ranch and you've got an open attic up there, usually soffit venting, ridge venting will take care of it. So anyway, that's the show this week, guys. Back. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you're enjoying the warm weather. Finally getting warm here in Michigan. I think it's 60 today. What is it? It's May and it's 60, and we're like, oh my God, it's so warm. But whatever, it's fine. I love it here in Michigan. So I love the weather. It's the only place I've ever lived. If I was in Florida, I think I'd die in the summer. So I'd just melt. Like that's crazy ass wicked witch from that new movie Wicked, who I saw on singing something somewhere, and I thought, oh my God, her hands are twice as long as mine. How is that possible? She looks like an alien. Anyway, that was free. And it wasn't politics or religion, I would like to point out. Just a little bit of cultural commentary. All right. Well, listen, guys, thank you for tuning in. Check out the other shows. Check out the books on Amazon. I've also got the store, toddsworld.net, where I don't have the merch on today. This is merch, but this is gone. I did have a good setup for hats at one point, but they changed the way they did hats, the company that I work with. These were embroidered, and they looked good. But they changed that, and they just do these vinyl patches now, and they look cheap, and I don't like the hats anymore. So, but great hoodies, great t-shirts, lots of different styles. I got some Trump gear on there if you happen to be an America First mega patriot. If you're a lefty, well, maybe some other things on there that you'll like. So, listen to the Wildly Opinionated News Hour. Maybe we can help you out of that particular problem. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back next week. Thanks again for the comments. And let me know what you end up doing, whether you end up pouring a pad or whether you don't. All right. Talk to you later, guys. See ya.